Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Morning, lads. How are we all doing?
Andy's
face says it all.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right.
Andy's in such a good mood this morning.
Do you want to tell us why, Andy?
No, probably not.
He was meant to be playing a gig with Nomadic Rain,
and he's not playing it.
At a metal festival in Cambridge, and they've had to pull out. And it would have been an all-dayer. I think you were the opening band, weren't you, as well?
We were opening, and it was a great lineup, and I was looking forward to checking out and seeing, you know, the local bands also playing, my friends and everything, some bands I've not seen before. So yeah, a bit disappointing.
Yeah,
these things happen.
It does.
Right.
And you'll have the opportunity again. They're always
you know, the promoters has said they'd have us back next time they do something, hopefully. So yeah, it's a nice little venue in Cambridge. You know, I've been there a couple of times for shows. Yeah, I was looking forward to it. But there we go.
Right, well, today's video, let's get onto that. Hopefully we can go in there with a nice positive mindset. We're going for it. Now, I'll tell you the band that we're going to check out. We're going to do a band that we've actually been talking about for an album review. So the band we're going to look at today is a band called Alter Bridge, but we're not going to check out a video from their latest album. So we're going to go way back to something off of their second album. And the reason I wanted to put this one on here is it's a song I know, but I don't think you guys do, because we've just done their brand new album. And as a fan of Alter Bridge, not like a super fan, I'm not one of these guys that like lives for Alter Bridge, but I have got a massive appreciation for what they do and their technical abilities. Miles Kennedy's vocal range, Tremonti's vocal range, and solo. A guitar solo and ability of those two is amazing. But when we get to the album review, you'll see that I wasn't as overwhelmed by the album as I was hoping to be, as far as what I heard from album reviews from other people who told me about the Alter Bridge album. And for me, this song that we're going to play is the why, because I kind of know their back catalogue, and I wanted to show you one of their back catalogues to give you kind of a reference point of this is where I thought Alter Bridge was at their best. Now, you could hear this and go, nah, all right, fair enough. But I think it's a great reference point. And I wanted to share this one with you. So we're going to go check out this song. I'll tell you the song. It's called Blackbird, and it's also the name of their second album. So it's the title track off the album. So let's go check out Alter Bridge and Blackbird.
From the distance is calling your name, unfurl your black wings and wait. Across the horizon, it's coming to sweep you away. It's coming to sweep you away. To fly long before they've seen their day. Long before they've seen their day.
Okay, Kirk, what did you think? Go on.
Okay, so definite Chris Cornell influence on the vocals. I do like Miles Kennedy's vocals. I don't think he rips off Chris Cornell. He's just operating in a similar register. A lot of soul to his voice, especially on the new album, by the way. So I'm guessing that song's 2006, around then, if you say it's the second album.
Yeah, 2006, 2007. I think it came out in 2007, this album, yeah.
Yeah. Definite prog elements in it as well. The verse parts reminded me of a Soundgarden song from the 1994 album Super Unknown called Limo Wreck. And let's be honest, Soundgarden from 94 onwards have really dropped the heavier, ugly noise rock elements from their music. So they're not as heavy as that. Is how I would have wanted that 2011 Soundgarden's comeback album, King Animal. I would have wanted it to sound like that. So I liked it. I like those emotive blues rock solos as well. I can listen to those all day, and we don't get enough of those now in metal. So that's one of the reasons why I would listen to hard rock, because you still get that weeping on the fretboard, which is so hard to do, and to do it with so much. So like, I thought there'd be more riffs in it. Tremonti is a riff lord. Probably the best riff lord in rock.
Right.
There's such a metal influence on his style. I know that Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost is his favourite metal album of all time, as he said.
You always have to get Celtic Frost in this.
He said that in an interview to Rob Flynn on Rob Flynn's podcast. So
every band is influenced by Celtic Frost.
Will appear in every review that I do.
Every review, every reaction.
So yeah, it was good. I've heard that type of music before. But it just reminds me the first time I heard "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You" by Led Zeppelin.
Right.
The emotion of those clean arpeggios, and I just love that. I'm a sucker for that. So yeah, I could listen to that. A whole album of it. Yeah, I could listen to it. It's just, it's not really offering anything new, but it's one of those where often you'll say what they're good at, what they do. I would say these are supreme at what they do for this type of music.
It's very much an arena rock, and I would say the rest of the album is not all like this. It's very much like well, I guess exactly like what you've got with the new album. It's a real balance of, you can hear who's written which part, because obviously Miles Kennedy is a prolific songwriter as well, and you can actually listen to each song on the album and know which one, whether it was a Tremonti written song or if it was a Miles Kennedy song. Now this one is Blackbird is primarily a Miles Kennedy written track, and even the solo is split between the two of them. The first part before it kicks into the heavy is Miles Kennedy soloing, and then Tremonti takes over for when it gets into the heavier, the riffage bass solo, and that's when all the faster picking goes, the shredding guitar solo. But the song is very much an original written by Miles Kennedy with the rest of the band in adding their parts, and you hear that on the new album as well. And I agree about Tremonti's writing style. Tremonti is an amazing guitar player. And one thing I found with the Alter Bridge sort of thing is you got Miles Kennedy's writing, you get Tremonti's writing, and what you get when you get both of them together is kind of a watered down version of both their writing styles to try and make it sound like Alter Bridge. And that's where you get this kind of tone. So you don't quite get the balance of what you would get if it was purely a Tremonti, where you get that heavy riff. Because I love the Tremonti albums. I think they're amazing. And they've got a lot more weight than what you get with the Alter Bridge stuff. And that's the question for me, is if I was given that choice of, do I listen to Alter Bridge, Miles Kennedy or Tremonti, I would probably listen to a Miles Kennedy album and a Tremonti album over an Alter Bridge album, because I like their individual writing styles. I find you do get it a little bit watered down, and that's what I found with the new album. I'll save a bit more of this for when we do the review, but that was kind of my impression when I listened to that album. But
let's bring Andy in now.
Yeah, I think Andy, you go. I'll wrap up at the end.
You won't be surprised to hear that I've never thought of Bridge before until we done the album review, which, you know, I won't touch on too much, but I really did like. I know the name because they're cited as an influence by members of three of my favourite local Cambridgeshire rock bands. I'm name checking Alter the Sky, Planet Fatale, and the Hot 1-2. In their bios, Alter Bridge is often mentioned, and I know, you know, a lot of the members of those bands are fans of this of Alter Bridge, and I really like. You know, so I introduced when we done the album review, which will be we'll hear about later, you know, in a later episode. But this particular song, really like the steel string guitar intro. there's variation of music throughout the whole song, which is what kept me interested. I thought, you know, you pointed out at the beginning, Kirk, 8 minutes, nearly 8 minutes. It's going to be epic. I thought, well, is it going to be epic or is it going to be dull and boring? But it certainly wasn't dull and boring. So we had that intro, and then almost doom riff dropped before the vocals start. Really like that. And the vocals very impressive. As I say, I was surprised how good they were when I listened to the latest album. The vocals absolutely fantastic. And then again, the variation comes in. We're back to that sort of acoustic guitar intro during a passage, and then in the middle, I've noted down Solitude Aeternus, the Texan Doom band. You know, there's comparisons to their vocalist Robert Lowe, and that particular section of the song reminded me of that particular band. The solos, I've said before, I don't like the power metal wanky, look at me, I'm brilliant solos. So the solos complemented the song. You know, they were really, I can imagine them playing that live and not making stupid faces and trying to impress with their skills. Whatever they were playing complemented this track, and it seamlessly moved into the second solo, which was different from the first, as you mentioned, David. You know, there's different styles, you know, heavier, more intricate solo, but they both complemented each other. They complemented the song, and it wasn't unnecessarily long. You know, with those variations, those different styles, the different guitar tones, you know, it wasn't a boring, unnecessarily long song. And yeah, I would like to check out more of Alterbridge. As I enjoyed listening to the new album. I'm going to listen to it again when we do our sort of review. Listened to it a few times and made some notes, but I'd like to check out other Alterbridge material. So perhaps the people in the comments can give me some go-to albums, go-to tracks. But yeah, enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, for me, great track. It's I just remember the first time I heard it, I was the same as you. I think I'd done maybe 1 or 2 Alterbridge songs before this, and then someone recommended in the comments to go check out Blackbird. And yeah, it's the fact that I always look at that when you first look at a video and you go 8 minutes long, you're like, oh, fucking hell. Is it going to be like 3.5 minutes of intro and 2 minutes of outro and only a little bit of substance to the song? But actually it takes you all the way through, which I think is great. I also find afterwards, because I found a little bit more history about the band, or the song titles, the Blackbird, and it was a Miles Kennedy inspired piece. Now, if I get this wrong, because it's been a while since I remember doing this reaction, but on the other channel, but someone said it's about a friend of Miles Kennedy's who unfortunately passed away, and it's all about her and how, is it her or him? I can't remember, but it was about one of them dying on their deathbed and they're finally at peace. They had a tough life, and that's why it's all about the wings carry you on, find your way home. And so it was a very emotional, personal song for Miles when he wrote it. And you can actually see it when you see the live performance of it. You can see he gets quite emotional when he performs it, and he talks about this person before they launch into the song. The reason I didn't put it in as the reaction to go straight into the live performance was you don't get quite as much weight, because there's quite a lot of layering in this track to give you that kind of dynamic. And when it's live, although you do get some of that, it's much more guitar driven, and at certain points it just feels a little bit like they've just the bottom end's dropped out of it. So when you've actually heard the original song off the album, when you then go and watch it live, you can kind of almost backfill it with your head. You can visualize all the other bits, and then you can enjoy the live performance yourself. But I would definitely go check it off of their DVD performance off, I think it was at Wembley. And this is, to me, it's arena rock. It's a pure arena rock band, and you can imagine being in an audience with 50,000 people watching that, and everyone just arms in the air singing along to that chorus. You just get goosebumps all over you. I still get goosebumps on it.
Is that also why some people look down upon this music? So, do you know, I think the Americans have a derogatory term for it, butt rock, because of these Midwest radio stations that say, we play nothing but rock, and it is cold, shine down, stained, stuff like that. And there's an element of this here. Do you know I think Miles Kennedy also has a bit of, do you remember that band Days of the New? Travis.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a bit of him in his voice, hasn't he?
A little bit, yeah.
And I think, let's use another example in music. You know, once Pantera finished, unfortunately, because Dimebag died on stage, was murdered. I know they've reformed now, but that's another topic. But you needed someone to fill the void, and Lamb of God have done a great job of that. You know, they're a great band in themselves, but they were always useful just for doing that alone. And out of all the bands that needed to fill that void, the post-grunge void, you know, it isn't Nickelback. I know they've sold millions. It wasn't Creed. I'm happy if it's Alter Bridge that are the band that take on that mantle, because I still think it's needed, and clearly you only have to look at the album sales and, like you said, the arenas that they play. But Andy, as you said as well, the current generation of rock and metal bands, how many name check them? And I think it really is because the inventive guitars of Tremonti. This guy is clearly from a metal background, and even Creed, that first album, I remember hearing that in 1999 and really being blown away by some of the guitar work on that. So I've never been one of these who's snobbish and writes them off just because Rolling Stone or the New York Times or look down upon them. Fuck those people. they're always going to choose some art house indie rock nonsense, aren't they, to be the current fad, and this stuff is really looked down upon, and it shouldn't be. I enjoyed it. Didn't blow me away, but yeah, I think it was justified. The 8 minutes of length for that composition.
David, is this track still like a live favourite? Is it still part of their set?
Oh, Blackbird, yeah, pretty much gets played every time.
You know, one of their sort of classics that fans want to see and hear.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of those ones where if they don't play it live, you'd expect them, if you got to the end of their set and they hadn't done it, you'd be going, well, it's the encore now. They've got to come out for the encore with it, because it's like Enter Sandman. They've got to play it every time live because people just expect it now.
It's like the beautiful people, Marilyn Manson. I remember his fans once rioted because he didn't play that.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
The 90s.
Has to be done. But anyway, there we go. Alter Bridge and Blackbird. Now, obviously, keep a check on the channel for if you want to see us do our review of was it prawns? No, not prawns. Pawns and Kings.
Pawns and Kings.
Prawns and other seafood.
Pawns and Kings.
Yes, we will be doing a review of that album very shortly. But if you like the video, please do subscribe, click the bell icon, like and share, and we'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care, guys.